Hi, recently we have released Light-4j, a commercial component to our enterprise customers. The source code is not available in open source, however, it's available to all the paid customers. For demonstration purpose, I have created two example applications, one producer, one consumer, and packaged them into Docker images published to the Docker Hub, so that users, anybody, can just run the Docker Compose with the MQ server started in Docker and to demo the application. Today, I'm gonna run the application on my desktop and record a video so that everybody can see how this component works. The component is asked by a lot of customers because they have mainframe application within their organization, and they have a lot of applications communicated between different domains with IBM MQ. That's why we have created these components so that they can integrate different applications from Light-4j applications through MQ. The document for Light-MQ can be found from our document site. In the API style, there is a menu called Light IBM MQ. This is the document, and we have a tutorial you can link from here, or you can go to the tutorial section. From the tutorial overview and subsection API styles, you can find the tutorial for Light MQ. This video is basically based on this tutorial. Now we have the introduction for the Light-MQ component. The next step, we are going to create two applications. One is producer, the other one is consumer. Before we create the application, we create the specifications for these two example applications. The specification can be found from NetRNT model config. We can go to model config. This is a REST API. So go here, open API. Yeah, here we go, MQ producer. If you go to MQ producer, you can see the OpenAPI YAML file here. In this specification, we have two endpoints. One is put, the other one is pub. Both endpoints, we just basically push a key value pair into as the body as a post request. This key value pair is defined here. Is a key, it has a value. When we call the put endpoint, we basically put the key value pair into a default queue in the MQ server through the default channel. And when we do the pub, we basically publish a key value pair to a default topic so that subscriber can subscribe from the topic. So basically, one is point-to-point communication, the other one is publication subscription communication. We also have this config.json. This is for the Light code gen, so that we can generate our scaffold producer API for the demo. This is the command line you can use to generate the producer API. There is also a consumer. In the consumer YAML, you can see we also have two endpoints. One is get. The get will list the key value pair, will basically return the list of key value pairs received in the put endpoint from the producer. And And we have sub, basically list the keyword pair received in the publish endpoint from producer. And this is a config.json to generate the consumer. Before we start the example application with Docker Compose, we need to start MQ server first. You can install the MQ server on your operating system, but the best way will be using the MQ Docker container to start the server. If you go to the tutorial, there is a command line you can use to start Docker for MQ. Just copy this, and you can start from the command line. This is a specific environment variable I added, MQ app password, using we give it a password for the default app user, so that this user has to use password to authenticate and authorize to connect to the MQ server. This is for security reason. This is we don't provide any component without security in consideration. Let's go to the terminal to start the server. Now the MQ server is started. Once the server is started, we can actually connect to the server through the web console. Proceed. The username and the password is admin, and the password is PASSW0RD, or lowercase. So you can see we have the MQ server started already, and this is the default queue we are about to use, the dev queue1, and this is the default topic we are about to use to publish the message. We have a QM1 is the queue manager, and we have two channels. One is the main channel, the other one is the application channel. We're going to use the application channel. Yeah. If you take a look at this, this is the port we are using to connect the MQ from the web. It's 9443. Yeah, the next step, we're going to take a look at the Docker Compose file we created in the light config test repository. We go to another repository, light config test. And here we have a light MQ folder. In this folder, we have a Docker Compose.yaml. You can take a look at this Docker Compose YAML. We have two images. One is a ComNet20 MQ producer 1000, and it's listening to 8443. Sorry. And we have volume producer mapped to the config folder within the container. Another consumer service is MQ consumer 100, and listening to 8444 with the consumer directory mapped to the config. It's very simple Docker Compose to start two Docker containers together. And if you take a look at the internal, the producer, we have one mq.yml. Basically, is overwrite the default MQ configuration file within the Docker image. You can see this is the configuration file. Enabled is true, so you can enable disable the MQ component using this flag. If you are using the TRS, you can put this as a true and give the TLS trust door for the client and the password to open the trust door. The queue manager, we are connecting to QM1. Channel is dev app servcon. Host, this is the IP address on my desktop computer, so that the Docker Compose will connect to the IMQ we just started from the Docker. The port number is 1414. User is app password. We specify password when we start the IMQ Docker. The queue is dev q.1 and the topic is dev/. If you take a look at the consumer, it's almost identical for the configuration. It's imq.yaml. Yeah, it's identical. It's still connecting to the same queue. There is one cipher suite. If you are using TLS, you need to enable this line to pass in this. You can specify the SSL cipher suite to use for the TLS encryption. One thing you need to remember when you are running the example application on your local, you need to change this host to your local IP address. This address might be 192.168 something, or maybe just a 10 dot something, like if you are using corporate network. Now let's start the Docker Compose. We have MQ up running here, and we have, okay, here we are on the folder. We just browse. You can just start Docker Compose, Docker Compose up -d. We can put into the background. Okay, now we have two example applications started. So we have MQ, we have MQ producer and MQ consumer. The next step, we're gonna send some test messages to the producer through curl. First, we're gonna send some messages to the put endpoint so that we can push the message into the queue, the default queue. We're going to use this window. Okay, now we push one message into the queue. The message with the key is key 1. Let's push another message. Okay, we have two messages pushed to the default queue on the MQ server. We have consumer. The consumer, when the consumer starts, basically it has a startup hook to start a separate thread. And in that thread is basically the listener listening to the queue. If any message in the queue, it will consume it and put the message into a queue within the server, so that when we access the get endpoint in the consumer, we can get the last 10 messages from the queue. So this is a 8444 get, and we can see, okay, here we got two messages. One is key 1. One key is key 2. It's both message. We basically push two messages there. If we want to push more messages into the queue, you can try this. And wait a couple of seconds. I think the timeout is 3 seconds. Then you can try to get the message again. You can see more message there. and then maybe a little bit more, like, okay, more message. It's still consuming. So this basically like demos the put and the get using the queue with end-to-end communication through MQ. Now let's try the publish and the subscribe. We can send some message through the pub endpoint. Let's send two messages together to the pub endpoint. See here we have the API called pub on the A443. So this is to publish those two JSON messages to the MQ topic. The default topic is dev/. Now, if you want to retrieve those two messages, you can issue a command on the consumer with the sub endpoint. You can see we have two messages here. The value is the key is 3, key is 4. So those two messages we publish to the default topic. So this means we have two different services, and one service you can accept user input and push the message into the either queue or topic. And then we have another service. That service basically passively listening to the queue and the topic. Then save the message, the last 10 message into the in-memory queue, so that when you want to retrieve the message, you can connect to the endpoint to get the message, the last 10 messages. This is only a demo application, but you can expand the demo application very easily. For example, from producer, you can call the producer from another service or some other or a batch job to produce something. And for the consumer, maybe you're not gonna save the message into the in-memory structure. You might process the message and then call some other services, or you process the message and save the result into the database, or maybe communicate with the mainframe through the MQ with another channel or another queue manager. So the demo application just give you a simple mechanism, see how you can put the MQ integration within two different services, but the business logic is up to your imagination. Okay, this is conclude the demo for the MQ component. If you have any question, send us email or put a message into our forum. Thank you. Bye.